This morning, I woke up early and obviously wasn't going to go back to sleep, but I wanted to, so I lied in bed for an hour. And at a certain point, I just fell under. And because I was so awake, I didn't fall asleep. I fell into the liminal space. What I mean by that, so Salvador Dali, he used a method called the spoon method, where he would lie on a couch holding a spoon in his hand, draping his arm over the couch. And when he would eventually start to lose consciousness and fall asleep, his muscle would relax and he would drop the spoon, making a clattering sound on the floor, which would wake him up. And from that space, he found creativity. The reason for this is because he was entering into what's called a hypnagogic state, the space between waking and dreaming. In other words, a liminal space. Liminal just means like a transition between two defined places. There's this in-between undefined space. So I found myself, and this happens to me maybe once a year. It's rare and it's a joy when it does because it's the only time in my life that I truly feel connected to anything. So I found myself in this liminal space, and usually in those spaces, things are very murky and it's very difficult to see, to actually have clarity as to what you're seeing. Things slip away. It's just like, oh, there's an image or there's a figure, there's a word, there's a person, but they don't really stick around long enough to actually identify what they are. This morning, however, I was just so lucid that I was able to watch as the images and the words and the sounds were arising. I wonder sometimes if that space, that subliminal world, that almost collective unconscious world, carries with it all of the collective thoughts, dreams, ambitions, ideas, and manifestations of the human mind. And also, perhaps all of our communications, all of our advertisements, all of our messages that get sent every which way through the light, through the internet, through the wireless communications, all of it, the radio signals. So all of that, I wonder if that's all just kind of this big mixture of stuff. And when they say that advertising works subliminally, there could be different levels to that, where I'm just going to get off on a very small tangent here, but where it's not just that they're advertising a form on TV, or they're not just blasting a word or a message at you, but it's actually tapping into, on these very deep levels, which we know conceptually, and I know that conceptually, they're tapping into these deeper drives, human needs and urges and drives. But also, they are, in a sense, like, you can see how in this vast array of things that they're just flashing these things, trying to take your attention, not just in the conscious world, but in the unconscious world as well. And that unconscious world, that attention is actually literally your life force. It's literally it's everything. It's your eros, your sexuality, your power, your spirit, all of it. And when those levels get fixated on this, that, the other thing, all the flashing lights, then it's very difficult to, anyway, that's just a whole aside, which we can get into later. But so I'm in the liminal space, and what I'm seeing this morning, I'm hearing lots of just words that come up, and I'm seeing these forms. Everything was kind of drawn, almost like cartoon style or anime style, or just like colored pencil on parchment or something like that. So things were coming up and being drawn and projected across this little space, this screen. And because I was lucid, I tried to see, okay, well, do I have, can I participate in that creative process? Can I create forms using my mind? Because for me personally, having lived with severe trauma my entire life, I have not had access to my imagination. Maybe I did when I was very young and I don't remember. But as far back as I can remember, I don't have access to imagination. I don't have a visual imagination where I can just visualize things. And I can't just create things with my mind and see what they look like in my mind. That's never been accessible to me. And so I feel very grateful when once every year I do get a little glimpse into that creative space, visual space. And in that space, I tried to imagine or participate a little bit in shaping or creating whatever I wanted to see. And I don't know if it works that way, or if there are just an infinite number of forms and we can tune in to all of them at different times. And I think sort of my point here is I want to record this so that I can remember, is that where that space, the creative space, where everything comes from, where all the dreams and all the stories and the songs and the movies and the art and everything we create, where all that comes from. Sometimes when I've ever tried to interact with that space, I can't actually see into the space. Things arise from that, and I might start singing some song lyrics that I've just made up, just improvisational, right? So that's just creativity. That's my self-expression. But I'm not seeing what's behind the veil there. Now, in this case, because I was unconscious or semi-conscious, not only was I seeing behind the veil, but also I was able to see clearly. So it was like, and maybe this is normal for most people who have dreams and who don't have trauma, who don't have severe trauma. Maybe most people are able to have clear visualizations and have clear memories. And for me, that's not been accessible because I've had to hide myself and protect myself from some pretty scary and bad things. And so I've not been able to see. And so anyway, my experience is that in this case, I was able to see very clearly, at least for, a second at a time. And then maybe I would get a new image or some, because there was many, many things happening all at once. But I was able to see clearly enough that I could focus on an image, see it, observe it, and be aware that it was there and remember it. And it wasn't in any way fuzzy. There was no like, oh, I'm in a dream and I'm half asleep, what's happening? There was enough time to just be there and know, okay, I'm looking at a woman whose figure looks like this and she's in this shape and the lines are all clear. It's just like looking at a drawing, just like that. Animation because they're moving. And then I would try and imagine things and they would get kind of drawn in to the animation and they would be there. Because it feels like that's almost part of what makes, in my mind, I always imagined, that's what makes being human so amazing, or one of the things. Maybe some people are satisfied, or maybe many people are satisfied with having creative things arise and not knowing where they came from and just, enjoying the form and being able to express it and being able to use that form. And for me, the seeing into the place where it came from is essential, because it's like I want to be in that. I want to be in that soup of like where it's being created, but with clarity. And that seems very difficult to do. I don't know if that touches upon realms of like different kinds of spiritual dimensions or shamanic dimensions or artistic or creative dimensions, or again, like if that's just really totally normal for most people and just not me. I don't know. That's just my personal experience. But anyway, just wanted to share this for myself so that I could come back to it. And if I'm able to access that again as well. So, all right. Time to start the day.